I've never been big on Christopher Nolan. He's undeniably a talented director who's made fantastic films, but for some reason I never put him in the conversation for top 5 favorite filmmakers, until now. I rewatched every Christopher Nolan movie in order in preparation for The Odyssey, and my opinion on him completely changed. I forgot how good a lot of these movies are. There's even a few I watched for the first time on this marathon. So let's start this marathon all the way in 1989 with... This is the first public Christopher Nolan movie ever released. Heavy quotes on public because this is only available on one Reddit page where it has no audio and is low quality. Nolan does not want you to see this. He buried the 6 feet in the ground. It has some good camera movements and editing for a student film. It didn't make sense plot-wise or character-wise or any-wise, but it was cool to see it start. He even shows up in the movie wearing makeup. Okay, I can see why he doesn't want you to see this. We all gotta start somewhere, but I don't think it hurts anyone to say this is pretty bad. This movie doesn't exist on the internet. You cannot watch this anywhere. I don't know why it's on Letterboxd. This is 1996, 7 years after Tarantino, which makes you wonder how many short films he made that we don't know about. Feels more like David Lynch than Christopher Nolan. Creepy music, vibes, and directing aside, this was generally well made for a 3-minute short. This guy stomps another smaller guy with his shoe until a bigger guy comes from behind him and stomps him. It's weird, but I like it. It's pretty tense with the editing and sound of the clock ticking. He apparently shot this over one weekend for a budget of $1,000. I didn't have to include these early short films, but if you want to be a filmmaker like me, it's kind of inspiring to see what Nolan can do with such a small budget in just one room. And the fact that it took him to his 27 years old to make his first feature film is also inspiring. With that said, 5.5 out of 10. This is Nolan's first real film, clocking in at 70 minutes. It's about a writer that follows people just for the heck of it, who meets another man named Cobb who breaks into people's houses and steals stuff just for the homeowner to miss what's stolen. There's a couple of twists and turns I didn't see coming, and the performances from our two main leads, while not as good as his Hollywood films, are good enough to hold your attention when it's just them talking. The guy who plays Cobb, Alex Hall, is specifically pretty good in this, and it's surprising to learn he never starred in a film before or after this. He starred in one of the biggest director's first feature films and then went on to be architect. I honestly kind of respect that. Directing wise, it's not as polished as his other films. It goes without saying it's not as professional as Interstellar. But at the same time, the script is so creative for a low budget film, and there are a couple cool shots to the point that I enjoyed this movie. Not great, but you can see those hints of greatness, and to make something like this off a budget of $6,000 is an impressive skill that every inspiring director should try to acquire. 6 out of 10. Alright, we got our first great movie. Memento follows a man named Leonard Shelby who suffers from short-term memory loss every few minutes, which gets in the way of his investigation of his wife's killer. Memento is famous for being told completely backwards, minus the black and white portions that go forward, and the way this plot device is used to develop this mystery and plot is really clever. Christopher Nolan may not be my favorite director, but I think you can make the argument that he's the smartest, at least he's able to show that big IQ through his movies. It would have been very easy for this film to be an incomprehensible mess, more so this than any other Nolan film that has complicated plots, but every time this movie almost loses you, it adds a new twist or reveal that pulls you back in. The ending has one of those great iconic plot twists with several layers, and knowing most of the twists going in, this film does surprisingly work on rewatch. Maybe it's because it's been years and I only remember parts of it, but I honestly didn't expect this film to remain as entertaining and engrossing on second viewing, but it is. Guy Pearce is memorable as his protagonist, Carrie Ann Moss plays the most unlikable character in maybe any Nolan film, and Joe Pantoliano is basically just Ralphie from The Sopranos here. I love films that just let him let loose and do his thing. I hope Nolan works with him again. It makes the most of his premise and still remains one of Nolan's best. Well, we'll see where this marathon takes us. This is the only feature-length Christopher Nolan movie I haven't seen before making this video. It's always been described as the black sheep of his filmography, and I can see why. It's more of a David Fincher film, being a cold psychological thriller with unlikable characters and a dreary atmosphere. And you know what? I really liked it. I actually kind of want to see this Nolan come back for another film. It's very solid. It's about Will Dormer, a legendary detective played by Al Pacino, who is sent to a small Alaskan town to investigate a teenage girl's murder. The detective has insomnia, which gets worse from the anxiety of the case and it always being sunny in Philadelphia, Alaska. You feel as tired as Al Pacino, who plays a sleep-deprived character very well. Robin Williams is also in this film as a killer, and he's giving a really good performance. His usual charisma being used to make the psychopath creepier is very cool. If you haven't seen seen this film yet, stop right here. You do not want to hear the rest of this review because the inciting incident changes the entire story for the better. It starts slow, but please watch it gets really good. So Dormer thinks he found the killer in an abandoned cabin and they raid the place, but in the fog he shoots his old partner Hap. Was it an accident or did he do it on purpose since Hap knows a secret about him and was going to testify against him? Instead of coming forward and saying he accidentally shot Hap, he tells the entire police force it was actually the killer that shot him, but as it turns out the killer saw him shoot Hap and threatens to tell the police force. So now he's blackmailed to help the killer he's chasing or people find out he shot Hap. Now despite what you're led to believe in the first 30 minutes, Dormer is not a good detective. As it turns out, he figured out the case that made him famous by basically framing a suspect with evidence, and Hap knew this but was overcome by guilt. He was about to go forward and confess before he was shot. Seeing this bad detective who thinks he's a really good one and him being tangled into this conspiracy is very entertaining to watch. He ends up working with the killer and frames the victim's boyfriend who used to beat her. It's a really well done moral dilemma and you feel Dormer's desperation, being forced into a corner and having to help a murderer or risk being exposed. Not his best film and is kind of slow at times, but as far as psychological thrillers go, as well as morally great character dramas, it's really good. 8 out of 10. Still a great origin story. Those first 40 minutes from the dialogue to the actual plot of his origin is honestly just top tier Batman. The fact that he was going to kill the guy who murdered his parents before someone else did it, all the training scenes, every line that comes out of Liam Neeson's mouth, the first act is just top tier comic book shit, and the rest is still pretty good. A lot of amazing stuff, but also some small nitpicks, the choppy action, some jokes not landing, Batman's stupid CGI face when Scarecrow's effective with the fear toxin, some lines from Rachel being very corny, etc. With that said, this is the first Nolan movie composed by Hans Zimmer, and you can tell. It's actually a great mix of early Nolan mixed with modern Nolan. It's polished and well composed, but also shakier and more rough. Kinda cool to see this evolution in real time. As much as I like Guardians of the Galaxy and Deadpool, most superhero movies should use this as a blueprint instead. This is a naturally serious and sincere superhero movie that I want to see. We need great directors in this genre again. 8.25 out of 10. I don't know why I'm getting so specific, but just go with it. Christopher Nolan's most character-driven, fun, imaginative, and clever script to this day. Was my favorite of his as a kid, and unless this marathon proves otherwise, it's gonna stay that way because it's even better knowing the twist going in and the history of Tesla connected to it. The fact that the twist is so in-your-face the entire film makes it just such a fun film to rewatch, even more so than any other movie known for its plot twist. It helps that this is a really dark film as well. Characters end their own lives out of grief, some get shot and people laugh, both main characters are such hateable people to the end, someone gets buried alive, some drowned alive, and you see Tesla's downfall in real historical time. Being able to do this all while still being a surprisingly fun movie is a great achievement. One of those films that makes you flip-flop on who you're rooting for. Both are very flawed, but sometimes you feel bad for Hugh Jackman and other times you feel bad for Christian Bale. Both are jerks to the others around them, both have moments where you see them as the underdog, but at the end it becomes clear who the villain is and who actually has meaningful connections and cares for others. I'm glad they gave us a clear villain at the end to make the final twist hit even harder. The rivalry between the two characters is also never one-sided. Sometimes Christian Bale could be the one winning, other times Hugh Jackman gets the upper hand. Alliances change and new information is revealed throughout that makes this rivalry such an enthralling rabbit hole to go down. God, I love this movie. 10 out of 10. It may be the best one. One thing that stands out rewatching this in 2026 is how good the dialogue is. Superhero films are so much better when characters talk like real people instead of sarcastically throwing quips at the audience. Hell, this movie is funnier than the ones that do that. But yeah, it's still a fantastic film. I rewatched this so many times as a kid that I can remember every line of this film while watching it. Heath Ledger's still incredible as a Joker. He commands the screen in every scene. He literally makes this film as good as it is, and he's honestly pretty funny too.
You think you could steal from us and just walk away?
Yeah. Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne is at his best here, both all the Batman scenes and Bruce scenes. Hans Zimmer's score is incredible and makes every scene better. This may be the best Hans Zimmer score yet. The final act where those two boats have to blow the other up and they both die was very well done, from the acting to the tension. That chase scene with the truck is so damn good. There's a lot of scenes, either action or jump scare or just talking, where I'm like, this is so good. You can poke holes in Joker's plan, hell, it actually kind of bothered me on rewatch. I understand it's still a comic book movie, but him breaking into a hospital dressed as a nurse, leaving that party undetected when Batman was on the ground, being in the exact right place and time when the police station blew up, it's undeniably kind dumb, but man, I don't care. It's one of those movies that made me love movies and it holds up on rewatch. Aaron Eckhart as Two-Face is incredible, and if Heath Ledger was in the same movie, he would get talked about a lot more. Still the best comic book movie, 10 out of 10. I'm very glad I rewatched this one. This was great. With Interstellar, The Dark Knight, and recently Oppenheimer being considered as best films, Inception has been left behind when I feel like it used to be Nolan's most iconic and popular film. I won't act like it's perfect, sometimes it gets kind of confusing. By design, it's a complicated concept, but forces you to turn your brain off or else you'd be thinking about it the entire runtime. You can also argue the characters aren't as strong as a concept, even if the ensemble cast is really good. Cobb is a great protagonist to follow. I forgot the reason he's doing this is to reunite with his kids. Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Tom Hardy are also standouts, with Cillian Murphy coming in at the end for a great emotional payoff. Even if I didn't fully understand what was happening, and trust me, I really tried to wrap my head around it, it didn't matter. I was repeatedly impressed with what I was watching: the staircase, the hallway scene, all the timeless CGI that makes modern blockbusters look like it was made by children, the abstract visuals. It's maybe more impressive than Interstellar, not just from the CGI, but all the trippy visuals and the world it creates. It's a very imaginative movie. This is proof that live action could be more visually impressive than animation. Plus, Hans Zimmer's composing his heart out. This and Interstellar still stand as Hans Zimmer's best scores. The combination of the directing, the creativity, the trippy visuals, the cinematography, and the music in the final act made me incredibly invested in what I was watching. This film is over 2 hours long and it doesn't let go. There's not one dull moment. It's a very entertaining, stunning film from beginning to end. The confusing plot takes me out at times, which is why I wouldn't say it's a 10, but it's really close. 9.5 out of 10. Okay. I always liked The Dark Knight Rises, don't get me wrong. It looks great, maybe the best looking comic book movie next to Spider-Verse. It feels epic. That fight between Bane and Batman in the middle of the crowd is awesome every time. The scene where he climbs out of the cave gets me every time. That's an epic scene. The burning bat symbol on the tower, the opening where they hijack the plane, the chase scene that first time when Batman appears, Gordon figuring out Bruce Wayne is Batman. There's some good shit. I even think Anne Hathaway is the best Catwoman. For a reason. I used to be a big defender of Bane's voice. I think it's honestly an iconic voice, but now just watching this a little older, it's just kind of dumb. The audio mixing is part of that. His voice is just too loud in every scene, but for some reason in a trilogy where a guy dresses like a clown fights a man dressed like a bat, this character is just a little too over the top for me at times. Also, what a dumb twist. Finding out that this woman was the daughter of Ra's al Ghul doesn't add anything but a connection to Batman Begins. You already have a villain with Bane and a love interest with Selina. You could just remove her character and nothing will be lost. The grand finale of this trilogy is fighting a character we didn't know was the villain until the last 20 minutes. Okay, I really do like this movie. Great directing, great action, great score. It's good, but the problems just stand out every time I rewatch it. Like, why do we need to spend 30 minutes setting up Bruce becoming Batman again only to break his back and then spend another 30 minutes having him become Batman again? I like this movie, it's good, but I feel like the second film gave a bittersweet bookend to the story where he sacrifices his reputation to give Gotham hope. So to have Gotham become corrupt again and Batman redeem himself just kind of reverses the ending of the film. I don't know, it's still good, but a very flawed movie. 7.5 out of 10. Okay, that's it. I'm giving it 5 stars. I don't care if it's a pretty huge coincidence that one of the 4 people sent on this mission just so happened to have the paradox thing in his bedroom. I'll just accept that that part's not supposed to be realistic and fall into science fiction logic. I don't care that Cooper doesn't care about his son in this movie. Honestly, kind of funny. Any small nitpicks I have with this film are just nitpicks because damn is this movie good. Hans Zimmer's best score, I'll say it right now, this is his most iconic moving score to date. It can be intense, heartbreaking, emotional, awe-inspiring, epic. It's just an amazing score. Best characters in any Nolan film as well. Cooper is a loving father who is forced to leave his family in pursuit of saving them, and his devotion to saving them and then later getting back to them makes for a great protagonist with a great motivation. You really feel the stakes in this one. You feel devastated when they're trapped on that water planet for what's basically 20 years. It's a punch to the gut to find out that Dr. Man was lying about his planet. It's scary to see all those people in the dust storm. It's heartbreaking to watch him look at his kids grow old. You feel the betrayal when it turns out the entire mission was a lie. It feels like the world is ending and everything is at stake at all times. And when the characters lose in a situation, they lose a lot. Movies are a visual and auditory medium, and we have some of the best visuals and one of the best scores of the 21st century. You're in awe for 80% of this. I think this is more impressive than 2001: Space Odyssey. I said it, it's incredible. It's why I'm so critical of CGI that comes out today, because early 2010s movies really did have better CGI than the 2020s. I don't know what else to say. If you haven't seen Interstellar, what are you doing? 10 out of 10. This is a weird one. It's an 8-minute short documentary about the Quay brothers, both animators who like to make puppets. I don't know why he made this. It's not interesting to me. Maybe some good shots of the puppets, but that's about it. 5 out of 10. This is weird. I remember watching this years ago, maybe when I was about 9 or 10, and I didn't like it. I thought it was dull and boring, and the lack of plot or notable characters was a negative. On rewatch, I kinda love this. This is one of Nolan's most impressive movies. 10 minutes didn't go by where I wasn't impressed by the cinematography, the effects, the spectacle, or Hans Zimmer's score that just rips. I watched this on my backyard projector, and it was enthralling from beginning to end. Yeah, there's no three-dimensional characters here, none of them have much depth, but you do really feel the weight of their actions. This old guy on a boat goes out of his way to save as many people as possible, even if it puts his own life in danger. And we learn at the end that one of his sons died in the army. Cillian Murphy, who has PTSD, tries to turn the boat around because he's scared and accidentally pushes a kid down the stairs, eventually killing him. Tom Hardy's character realizes he's running out of fuel, but instead of going back to the carrier, decides to help more people. The actions speak for the character's motivations more than their personalities, and it works. The only thing I wish they did was give Cillian Murphy's character some sort of redemption. He accidentally kills someone because he's a coward, but there's no scene where he redeems himself or his character changes. I feel like that scene where the man was about to drown and they're trying to break the glass would have been a good scene if he was the one who saved him. Maybe the kid isn't strong enough, so he comes in and smashes a window. But his character is basically summed up as he gets PTSD, acts a coward, gets someone killed, and really feels bad about it. It's an unfinished character arc that could have been really good. With that said, this is an intense movie, so many suffocating scenes. The boat sinking while people try to swim out will probably give me nightmares one day. The guy stuck in the oil-infested water as the top is on fire is a highlight. You know Nolan did a lot of this for real, and there's so many scenes of boats sinking, planes burning, and hundreds of extras dodging explosions that are just impressive. I mentioned that this marathon gave me newfound appreciation for Hans Zimmer because the score elevates this movie too. Definitely the biggest surprise of this marathon. Used to be one of my least favorites, now I think it's in the top half of Nolan's filmography. 9 out of 10. It's okay, the audio mixing is terrible. I can't imagine watching this without subtitles. This may actually be Hans Zimmer's weakest soundtrack. Still good, but not as memorable or as impactful as his other scores. Never pumps you up for an action scene or carries an emotional moment like his other films. But the biggest problem is that it's just too confusing. I get it, it's Nolan, you're supposed to rewatch his films, they're kinda complicated. I understood Interstellar, Inception more on rewatch, but not this film. This is by far Nolan's most mind-melting concept, to the point that the movie literally tells you not to think too hard about it. This is the first Nolan movie where he tells you to turn your brain off and just enjoy it. But the problem is the backwards time travel part seems to be what Nolan's most interested in. He doesn't care about these characters, he literally names the main character protagonist. I'll be honest, the time travel gimmick just isn't that fun. Despite the hand combat scene and the shot of the car unflipping itself, the action honestly isn't that interesting to me. So he doesn't put emphasis on the characters, but also doesn't really care about explaining how the technology works, which just makes this entire film feel like a mess. He can't disregard the characters. Interstellar was fantastic because Cooper was doing all this for his family. Cobb from Inception was also doing this to reunite with his kids and is being haunted by his wife in his dreams. I don't need to see this guy's backstory. As I said for Dunkirk, the characters weren't that developed either, but their actions carried weight and revealed more about the character than any backstory could. But he doesn't do anything interesting in this or have any of his actions carry weight because he's just a soldier doing his job who cares about this innocent woman. Sometimes his personality shines through. I'll give John David Washington credit for trying his best. Other than letting Robert Pattinson's character live after finding out about the operation, he doesn't really do anything that interesting. I'd say the most interesting characters are actually Kat, played by Elizabeth Debicki, and Sator, played by Kenneth Branagh. I feel like I messed up one of those names. Even if the motivation of trying to kill Sator just to take her son away from him, a son we don't even see the face of, is incredibly basic and half-assed. She tries to kill her husband, she does interesting stuff and is a good actor. Sator forgiving her after she tried to kill him and literally deciding to murder the entire world once he dies is also a crazy character I was interested in. Otherwise, it looks nice, has a cool concept and a decent Hans Zimmer score, but all those things you could get much better in other Christopher Nolan movies. That said, with his Netsu films being a biopic and an adaptation of Greek mythology, this could be his last sci-fi action thriller and maybe his last film with Hans Zimmer. Who knows, maybe this is the end of an era, but I'd take Nolan trying new stuff and new genres over this since it was honestly getting kinda tired. 6 out of 10. This is way better than I remembered. Not to say I didn't like it the first time, I thought it was great, but I didn't really buy into the hype it was getting when it came out. But now on rewatch, I think this is my favorite historical biopic of all time not made by Scorsese. There's so many elements that makes this more than just another biopic. The way it cuts from the past to the future so there's always drama happening, the way the plot keeps unraveling in unexpected ways, how it makes you feel the weight of this project and the implication of what Oppenheimer has done. This is a story about a man who is responsible for the death of millions, and the way Nolan and to a greater extent Cillian Murphy shows his unimaginable guilt for causing that many deaths is fantastic. The water drops in the beginning representing missiles dropping on Earth, a scene straight out of a horror movie where the audience is burning alive and you see that dead body in the ground. And even outside the visuals, the fantastic score from Ludwig is heavy and overbearing. This is Nolan's best score since Interstellar. This film goes into the characters' heads more than any other Nolan film. That scene where he's forced to admit in front of his wife that he cheated on her and literally becomes naked to put you in his shoes of how he's feeling, and then you see the mistress to put you in the shoes of how Kitty is feeling. There's so many reveals throughout where the camera will pan to the left and you find out there was a character there the whole time. This may be the best editing of any Nolan movie. The amount of characters and scenes it cuts back and forth to could have easily been a mess, but it works. Everyone's giving a great performance, that's expected. It's nice to see Cillian Murphy be the focus for once. He's always been underrated in my books. Robert Downey Jr.'s performance was a lot better this time around. I finally see why he got that Oscar. It looks great, it sounds great, and this may actually be the best dialogue and writing since The Dark Knight. There's so many great lines in this that would be the best quote of any other film. It's honestly just fantastic. 9.5 out of 10. I have filmed the entire video up to this point on June 27th, and here's my predictions for The Odyssey. It'll be good. I read The Odyssey a few months before it was announced he would be making it. I don't know much about history, so the inaccuracies won't bother me. I like this story. I think it has potential to be one of the best movies ever made. I'm not gonna go crazy with my expectations. As much as this marathon has opened my eyes to how good Nolan is, I don't think he's a god, pun intended, who can do no wrong like some people. Tenet was just okay, and The Dark Knight Rises is a flawed film. I honestly say that every other one besides those two and the short films are really good movies. Some are among my favorites of all time. So I guess the only thing you do now is spend 3 weeks editing this video, stress about it last minute, and then watch The Odyssey. Well, I just got out of seeing The Odyssey a second time. I watched it on Friday opening night, and then I rewatched it Monday. Actually, that's a lie. It's Friday right now. I watched it Monday, so I kind of recorded this a week after watching it the first time. I procrastinate, okay? I procrastinate. I've been editing the video, and I suck as an editor, and I fucking hate editing. And, you know, now the video's gonna be late, but, you know, it's whatever, because I really like that movie. Matt Damon's best performance in, like, years, I'll say right now. I haven't seen Good Will Hunting, I'll admit that, but I think this will be the performance Matt Damon is, like, remembered for in, like, years to come. This may actually be my favorite Robert Pattinson performance. Like, he was really fun in this. He's also very funny, too, where he's hiding behind that pillar, is like, get the shields, get the spears. Like, that was really funny. John Leguizamo was actually pretty good. I butchered his name, didn't I? I definitely butchered his name. Anyways, you know, the guy who plays the blind guy, he was really good in this. I really enjoyed his performance as well. He was great comedic relief, but also had a lot of emotion. And as for the movie as a whole, those 3 hours went by quick. It was like 2 hours. It was a little bit shaky at first. I felt like there was like no like great shots in this. Like the cinematography was a little bit shaky, but once they get to the Cyclops cave and that whole sequence, which is basically just a horror movie, by the way, that Cyclops was like terrifying to look at. But once you get to that sequence, the movie just ramps up and it just never lets go. The first act is definitely better on rewatch, but the second and third act, it just like keeps going and going and it doesn't stop. This may be the fastest a Christopher Nolan movie has felt since Inception. Like it just like flew by. Also, Ludwig's score was really good. First time I watched it, I was like, the score isn't that great, you know, it's not as iconic as Interstellar. But on rewatch, I really do enjoy what he was going for, and a lot of it's already stuck in my mind. The siren scene was great. Cersei scene was really disturbing. And yeah, like the final act where he goes John Wick on everyone was also pretty good. Even if the choreography wasn't like exceptional, it was still like a very epic scene. The bowstringing, like that scene's probably the most iconic of the whole movie. Tom Holland, I'm a little bit iffy on because he was okay. He was serviceable. Definitely one of his better performances. But every time I saw it, like for Matt Damon or Anne Hathaway's character, I just saw the character. I wasn't thinking, oh, that's Matt Damon. For Tom Holland, the whole movie, I'm thinking that's Tom Holland, you know? I think his performance definitely hit better on rewatch. It just felt like Robert Pattinson was acting circles around him, that's all. Also, a lot of great lines, like Matt Damon saying, don't see gods in people, you'll be disappointed. Like, there's a lot of lines in here that I think were pretty good. The only thing maybe holding it back is that there is some dialogue. Like I just said, the dialogue's really good, right? Like, there's some great lines in here. But sometimes, because it's like so modern English, sometimes it just feels, it took me out a little bit, you know? Like Game of Thrones, that's a show that's medieval, it's years, I know it's not the same time period, but it's years ago, but you know, it doesn't like feel modern, you know? Like the way they're talking is in their own dialect. For this, you know, they talk like people would talk today, and that just kind of took me out at times. I definitely think this is a top 5 Christopher Nolan movie. I already see people saying it's their favorite Christopher Nolan movie. I wouldn't go that far. I still say The Prestige and Interstellar and The Dark Knight is better. But yeah, if anything, this just shows that Christopher Nolan is not stopping. He's still going. He's still in his peak. If there even is a peak, this is probably just how good he is. He's still putting a lot of effort into his stories. So yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I'm gonna give it a 9.5, maybe even a 10. I don't know. We'll see how it goes on the TV instead of a big movie theater, because like when you're in a movie theater, that's just like experience. Like watch this in the theaters, you'll not be disappointed. Yeah, 9.5 out of 10. And now here's every Christopher Nolan movie ranked from worst to best, not including Larceny because that's not available. Tarantula, Way, Doodlebug, Following, Tenet, The Dark Knight Rises, Insomnia, Batman Begins, Memento, Dunkirk, Inception, Oppenheimer, The Odyssey, The Dark Knight, Interstellar, and The Prestige in number 1. Tell me in the comments any videos you want to see next, subscribe if you made it this far into the video, and have a good day.